Good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure for us today to start the second day of our conference with a keynote address and a conversation, actually, that we will be having with the Minister of Energy and Environment, Mr. Theodoros Skylakakis. It is just a couple of words, a few words about the Hellenic Association for Energy Economics. Is an association which is established here since 2018 as a branch of the US International Association for Energy Economics. We are definitely promoting the synergies between the industry and the academia. So we have a lot of academics as well with us, and an academic session that is taking place immediately after our conversation with the minister. So it's a great honor for us to have the Minister of Energy opening the conference and having this discussion. The topic of energy transition is something that we have been addressing for the past 8 years. This is the 8th conference in a row that we are looking at it. And this is also showing a sign that the energy transition is not something that can take place over an instance. It takes a long time. Energy is a very sensitive issue for a number of reasons. And these are the things that we will try to discuss with the minister today. So thank you all very much for coming here. And we can start our discussion immediately with the minister. Thank you. So, Minister, we have the energy crisis bringing at the spotlight the topic of energy transition. And on top of that, energy security has been a major challenge for the European Union and, of course, for our country as well. So just to start with your introductory remarks, what are the main priorities and the main strategy of the ministry, especially following the revised version of the National Energy and Climate Plan that we are now discussing with Brussels, having always in mind a topic that we did mention in the first day of the conference, which is the climate crisis, given all the incidents that took place in Thessaly 2 weeks ago and also even yesterday in Volos?
Well, the climate crisis is, and you very rightly mentioned it, should be a part of any discussion, because our energy transition is also an issue of, or mainly an issue of investments, and the climate crisis, as it gallops, especially in the Mediterranean, but also in many other places of the world, puts pressure on financing the energy transition, because you have two things at a time that you must finance, and one of them needs certainly huge amounts of public money, which is the climate crisis, at least in countries where the adaptation to climate change is an absolute priority. Greece is such a country. And at the same time, you have to move fast because of the climate crisis towards the energy transition, with the knowledge that for at least 20, 30 years, what you do will not have significant immediate effect in terms of the actual climate crisis. It will take time to have an effect. So what you should do, you should be more efficient. This is my main message. You should be a lot more efficient on how you spend money. You must take decisions in an uncertain environment in terms of the technologies involved. What I have seen in the few months that I have responsibility for this ministry is that we have still a lot of competing technologies, especially, for example, in storage, which is a big part of our energy transition. And also, you should look into how the international energy markets work, because in the meanwhile, while you are doing the transition, international energy crisis can disrupt any effort, as we have seen last year. Now, Greece is, our answer is moving faster. This is what we can do, because at the time, and it's going to get, this is going to continue for the foreseeable future in my mind, the transition makes economic sense. It makes absolute economic sense, so you must move faster towards it. There is no other way that we can deal with this issue.
And Minister, everybody at every level, at national level or at EU level, is discussing about the energy trilemma, which effectively talking about the energy security issue, how to balance these three main issues, then the sustainability of the system, of our energy system, and of course its affordability. And this is my next question regarding effectively the cost to the society. We have seen after the invasion of Russia to Ukraine, an unprecedented increase of energy prices in general, which affected also our country, and the government responded with equally unprecedented measures of support to the bills. From your previous position in the Ministry of Finance, you know very well the support that the government has given. How do you think that this will be addressed, and if there is a structural need in the electricity market model for us moving forward?
The electricity market model didn't do very well during that crisis, and that is what we can call an understatement. But it's a very difficult issue to change such a model in the European context, because, as you know, Europe is like a very big ship. It takes time to change course, especially in issues where there are a lot of different interests and different structures. And the real issue for making decisions on the energy sector in Europe is that you have totally different, in terms of electricity, systems within Europe. You have a different structure in the Iberian Peninsula, different things in the Balkans. France and Germany go in different directions in terms of how they handle the issue of electricity. So you have different interests, and when you have different interests, it's very, very difficult to change the compromises that have been reached during a previous period. So to be realistic, I don't see big changes in that direction. And we have to live with what we have and adapt. And that's what our policy aims at. Because the energy crisis is still here if you look into the actual prices. We think that double the price of gas is normal, but it's double. It's not normal to have double the price of gas as we have today compared to the pre-crisis period. It's a new situation. And also, we think 4 times or 5 times the price of CO2 is normal, and maybe people were predicting it, but it totally changed the equation for a number of technologies. For example, in Greece, lignite is out and gone, and the big investments done by the previous administration someone will pay for it as you know, when you do a wrong investment, because things change. And this underlines the huge responsibility of the energy policymakers, because we make decisions for things that will happen in decades, and we have no clue what will happen during that period. That's the reality. And if you are into the futures market, I would ask you to go back to the past and look into the futures market and the predictions of the international bodies making predictions in the last 10 years, the last 15 years, and you'll realize how difficult it is to make policy decisions at the time. And what you must do, I think, is at least be fast into your decision making and do the transition as fast as possible. Because in the end, one thing is certain. Today, renewables are cheaper, and they still have an innovation curve and an economies of scale curve that they can climb with positive results in terms of their costs. Thus, and in my mind, these are the only real things and real predictions that we can make.
Minister, you have a very right point there, that following also some of the discussions we had yesterday here with the industry, I'm confident that the industry can accelerate the energy transition. I mean, the market can adapt as long as you correctly said, there is fast reaction and adaptability on behalf of the policymaker, so that we can adjust into the time. So obviously, 10 years ago, not many would have predicted that there would be the Ukrainian war. However, we had some signs in the past as well that could indicate that this can happen, but we are not reacting properly a lot of times.
Well, in my mind, it's not the private sector that is the issue. Look at, for example, offshore wind. When you ask the experts how long does it take, they tell you, well, in a country it might take 10 years to go from scratch to the first farm that is not a pilot farm. It's operational and it comes from some kind of bid, for example. This is not, and most of that is legislative and bureaucratic. This is not the way to do the energy transition. 10 years are too long for an important new technology. This is one important, there are others as well. So what we must understand in Europe especially is that you can't have your cake and at the same time eat it. You have, if something is as important as the energy transition, both for climate crisis reasons and for absolute economic reasons, we have to move faster and we have to look into solutions to move faster. And there's no way that you can have everything at the same time and pay nothing. Because this is the big problem that we have sometimes in our country and in Europe. We believe that if we say nice words, things will happen. Well, let me give you some news. If we say nice words, we just are saying nice words. Things don't happen because we say nice words or because we have nice intentions.
So very right. You did mention the clean energy technologies like storage, offshore and onshore wind or PVs. But the energy transition is not only a matter of clean energy itself. You started your initial remarks by saying that it is the energy we do not consume that we should be worried about. And energy efficiency, of course, is very important. And we had a program like called Execonomo from the past, which has been quite successful over the years. And I would like to ask you, what is the strategy now of the ministry regarding energy efficiency measures?
I would say we must make it more efficient. That's my. So how can we make it more efficient? One way to make it more efficient is to look into the actual energy needs across the country. In Greece, that was a reform that I did when I was at the Ministry of Finance. There are different energy needs, hugely different energy needs. So in places where people actually live, there is a place where we consume, for example, for heating, let's say 1 unit, and the needs are for 1 unit, and then there are places, the other extreme is for 16 units of energy within the same country. Now, this has not been incorporated enough in our existing program, and so we are going to make some changes towards that direction. And also, we should be more technology neutral, because there are new technologies coming in terms of energy efficiency, and we should incorporate them into our programs. So our programs should be more open to new technologies. These are the 2 changes that we'd like to make in our energy efficiency policy.
Do you look at any sectorial, maybe segmentation, like any special support for industries, for SMEs, for households? How would you like?
The more you go into sectorial, the less efficient economically you are. So we have to go into sectors, because sectors can, when they look at the program, they can focus. So for program management, it's easier to do sectorial. For economic efficiency, when you do sectors, you immediately lose some economic efficiency. So you must balance these 2.
And a last question, given the time limitation we have. We are talking about energy security and also the possibility of the country to produce even more green energy than what it can consume, which effectively unavoidably means possibly exporting to our neighboring countries and becoming an export hub as well of green energy in the future. How do you see that deploying?
Well, let's start by one fact. The European policy is based upon a common market. A common market is a common market when goods and services flow between countries. And in the classic economic model on which the EU is based, the basic economic theory, there is no obstacles in the flow of goods and services between countries. That's the hypothesis. This is what we call in economics a heroic hypothesis in the electricity market. The electricity market is absolutely fragmented, at least in the periphery of Europe. So this is a malfunction of the European economic model in terms of the electricity market, and we must make any effort to try to resolve it. That's before we start talking about exports. We talk about exports when we talk outside Europe. But our issue is that within Europe, we don't have the electricity grids, especially the interconnections, especially if we talk in the southeastern part of Europe, for the market to function properly. So this is an absolute priority. I would consider it also a European priority, because the good functioning of the European markets is the basis of the European Union. It started from there and cannot avoid that. And this is something that we're going to do and to promote. We are actually promoting it as a country because we are at the furthest away from the main market. The Iberian Peninsula is the other market that is further away. And also in terms of energy security, there is a lot of potential in Greece, especially in renewable energy, including offshore, which can help the energy security of Europe. Because what we have learned in the past couple of years is that in geopolitics, in today's world, nothing is for granted. I will give you an example. Suppose the US elections goes south. What will happen in our energy security? So these elections or some other, and in many other countries, there can be no elections and something can go south. So we need to put a lot more emphasis in our energy security as EU, as Europe, as a union, and we also need to take advantage of the resources, the renewable resources that we actually have, and Greece is a big part of that.
You're absolutely right. This means more investments in infrastructure that is going to be the backbone both on electricity and natural gas even today, because it is part of our energy mix in our system, and we need to diversify our sources, and this is key.
Yeah, but I would say electricity is an absolute priority because natural gas, we don't know how much we have or we will find in Europe, and it's a transitional gas anyhow, while electricity grids is something that is here to stay for the foreseeable future.
For a very long time. Yeah. Can we take advantage of the last 45 seconds that we have just to take one question maybe from the excellent audience that we have here? Is there anybody who would like to ask a question to the minister, maybe? Just please speak up, or maybe I can give you Yes, I'll give you the microphone.
Nikos Damatis from the Hellenic Biomass Association, Eleaviom. Mr. Minister, how do you foresee the bioenergy sector in Greece, especially through the evolution of the forest biomass and how this can participate?
This is not a 1 minute answer.
I know.
Because it's a whole new policy. We intend to do a big reform in terms of the forest management, the forest biomass. In Greece, we have 4.4 million hectares of forests. Out of them, half are not under management. And the big problem of our forest fires is that we have more dead biomass in our forests than proper forest management predicts, or we should have if we had proper forest management. And what we're going to do is we're going to subsidize the removal of forest biomass from the forests. And this is going to be, it's going to completely change the economies of our forests. Now, it will take some time to explain to you how this will be done, but we're going also to introduce the creation of carbon credits through that process. And it's going to be a totally new way of managing forests in Greece. It's not an easy reform because it's a total reform of a sector. Let's take it, and it's like someone taking the clothes and putting them inside out. Such a big reform. And this reform is absolutely crucial for our forests, but as a co-benefit, it will create a huge opportunity for a number of markets: the wood market, the biomass market in terms of biogas and biofuels, and other forestry goods, because our intention is to, let's say, well, maybe multiply by 10 within 5 to 7 years the people that actually work in the forests. That's how big the reform is in terms of its ambition. Thank you. It's something new for me to get congratulations, because in the previous ministry I always said no.
All right. Thank you very much, Minister, for this candid conversation and for going in depth in a number of matters in a very complex environment. And join me, please, all in thanking the Minister for his excellent discussion.